of the Make Life Rich movement. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, we are in for not only a scientific treat today, we're going to learn a lot. I'm very excited for Danae to share her expertise, but I think you are going to learn a lot about business grit and putting in the work for something that takes years to get to exactly where Danae is right now. I can say, as you know, I'm a big stalker. I've been stalking her for years now, and I've been chomping at the bit to have a conversation with her. So I'm personally very excited that today's finally come because you guys are working on some incredible stuff, and I just can't wait for everyone to hear all about your business and what it is that you are bringing to the future of personalized healthcare, which is just so exciting to even be able to say out loud. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for creating your company alongside your partner and husband, and thank you for caring about all of us having increasing options for personal healthcare as we all age and get older. Oh no, did I lose you?
Yeah, I think it froze for a second, but I think I got it all. Thank you so much for this this really, really amazing introduction, Sarah. I think it goes both ways. We've been following each other for quite a while. I also love what you do. I love your approach, and I think we would all be better off if we were mindful entrepreneurs. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here with you today.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about we're going to get into your career and your background because you have such an exciting career path. I really enjoyed learning about you, and you're a woman after my own heart with all of your amazing high level executive strategy that you've had over the years. But I would just love to give everyone just a treat about what we're learning about today. You and your co-founder created DELPHISTEM. Can you please tell everyone what DELPHISTEM is?
Yeah, sure. So DELPHISTEM is actually a very innovative biotech. We are, and not to humble brag, but we really are the first biotech to bring stem cell technology directly to the public. And when we talk about stem cell technology, a little bit of a definition for those of us who are not scientists, it's actually the scientific process of reprogramming cells into induced pluripotent stem cells. And what that means is that we have the ability today to reprogram our own cells as adults into stem cells that can be reprogrammed towards any organ of the human body. And that is quite amazing. The technology has been out for a couple of decades. The scientists that discovered it won a Nobel Prize, so it's pretty revolutionary. But when I learned about it, I found out that it's still in academia and research mostly, and it has not been brought to the public because it's truly life-saving. So imagine being able to create cells for any organ of your body if you need to have any personalized treatments or if you need to have any preventive work on it. So we created DELPHISTEM with one bold mission to help people achieve longevity and live up to 100 healthy years by storing their stem cells early in their adult life. And as you said in the introduction, when you do store your own stem cells early in your adult life, you get to use them in the future for both preventive and personalized health options.
It's so crazy to me. Everyone listening knows my dad had cancer. The very first time that I heard the word stem cell was he was given 30 days to live. He lived over 20 years. They had no idea how to treat him or what was going on with him, and he had a lot of experiential treatments and surgeries and things to kind of figure out how to keep him going. So there was kind of this very cruel moment where we learned what stem cells were, and that in the United States at the time, I was probably 15 around then, so 2000. They were being vilified here in the United States. They were being codified with religion and made completely this bastard part of the medical industry that should never be researched or thought upon. And it was the one thing that we thought could save my dad's life. And I remember just being I was just praying like one day this will be available for everyone, and for literally now to be, and for this conversation to be happening with you is so surreal as someone that was affected by lack of personalized medical care being a thing for anyone, let alone everyone. And ultimately, it did take his life. And it's so surreal and beautiful to realize that we have advanced enough in medicine that this doesn't have to be someone's fate anymore. And this is a very approachable, safe, smart thing for you to do for yourself and your family that is literally painless. And man, hindsight is 2020, and it's just so fascinating that we are where we are, and that this is a reality. It's kind of wild.
I think I lost you there again for a second, but thank you for sharing that, by the way. My heart breaks every time we talk to people, and unfortunately it's a lot of times.
Did I get you? I think it
did
might
I lose
be
you?
the headphones.
Oh no. I switched to can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sometimes the Bluetooth going back and forth like interrupts the audio, so it's like delayed.
Okay. Let's give it one last try, and I will take them off. Yeah, no, I mean,
don't let it worry you.
okay, that's perfect. But no, I was saying thank you for sharing your story, and it's so personal. And unfortunately, I'm sorry you went through this. And unfortunately, the majority of people we speak to have a similar story, ourselves included. And it's just so heartbreaking. You said it yourself, there is life-saving technology available today, even probably a few years ago. And people either don't know about it, or it's inaccessible, or the cost is prohibitive. And that was truly our mission. Like, we started this with our own personal stories. So I'm sorry you went through that. A bit of a reference in the 2000s, and as if you knew to make the connection, but you hit the nail on the head. At the time, unfortunately, the whole concept of stem cell technology became this controversial, ethical, conversation for the wrong reasons, because people associated it with embryonic stem cells and all of that. And that is even more of a reason why the scientist Yamanaka, who discovered the process that I was describing earlier, and he won the Nobel Prize for it, kind of eliminates all that controversial discussion, because we're not talking about embryonic stem cells, we're not talking about any of that. We are talking about a scientific process that takes place in the lab, and you can have your own induced pluripotent stem cells. So thank you. Your story and stories like yours really inspire us to do what we do today.
Man, you guys are changing lives. I'm going to try my best not to cry the entire time, because I'm so overwhelmed with entrepreneurs that start things to make a difference. And, until your family is affected by a life-threatening illness, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I think, especially within the last few years, there have been so many super cool, weird health things that we can do now in the name of like self-help, like hyperbaric chambers. And the fact that anybody for any reason can just go to a hyperbaric chamber like spa and sit in them to get their oxygen. My father had to be driven an hour and a half every day for a year and a half to sit in a hyperbaric treatment chamber pressure at the hospital, because he needed it to live and survive. And now it's something that's used for happenstance of wrinkles and dry skin. I think we're coming into an age where us in our late 30s, early 40s are so completely blessed with the complete boom and expansion of both tech and science aligning to kind of fortify those parts of medicine that we knew we needed to get better at, but we didn't know how to advance them in a way that would be moving the needle for everyone. And I think now we're starting to really see that turn to where things are not only cool for the wealthy. They're kind of testing them out in the first few years when it's still $10,000 for a thing or this or that. But 5 to 7 years later, it hits mass market, and everyone now is able to benefit from the beauty of all of that time and effort and technology that went into these steps leading up to it. So I say all of that to say that I know how much you could be charging. I know how much you could be alienating this service from others. And it is quite literally the opposite of mission and purpose for you guys, which absolutely was like my number one reason for wanting to speak with you. I get a lot of tech people that want me to talk about their medical stuff. And then I look who funds them and I'm like, no, thank you. People like you are changing the way that normal people living their lives are going to be able to live their lives longer. I would love for you to tell us how exactly your system works. What are they thinking? Are they, like, you think stem cell, you think, is it like a bone marrow situation? Like, what are we working with here? Let's settle their fears, because guys, prepare yourself for how easy this is.
Exactly. Thank you for this introduction. Wow, I couldn't have said it better myself. And you hit all the points. You hit the nail on the head with this. That was exactly what was the thought behind the thinking process behind making this technology available. How do we make it easily accessible, non-invasive, which nobody has done this before until today, and accessible to people. And you said it very well. There is a lot of interesting technology and innovative technology out there, but when the price point is 10, 20K, only very few people can access that. And that was our point of starting this, and we said we don't need to be profitable right away, we just need to be able to be self-sustainable and make sure this can be accessible to as many people as possible. So the process is so incredibly easy that you would laugh. It sounds complicated, stem cell technology, but it's super easy. All you need to do is register on our website, www.delphistem.com. Choose the membership that works best for you. So we've put together a monthly storage option, an annual, and after popular demand, a lifetime storage option. We just introduced that a few weeks ago. And once you register and you select your membership, you will receive a collection kit from us in the mail. Should be, depending on where you are in continental US, should be there in a couple days. And then you have to collect your urine sample at home or at the comfort of wherever you want to be. And then you can use a prepaid label, postage label, attach it back to the box and send it back to us. And then once we receive it here, our scientific team will go through the scientific process I was describing earlier, the reprogramming process, which takes about 6 weeks. So you will be informed along the way. But from your end, all you need to do is collect your sample and mail it back to us, and that's all.
Insane. It's so easy. I've had worse facials that required more from me in exchange in return of coming back to me. So that's I know I keep coming back to this, but it's our generation, I think, always thought that we would benefit in some way, shape, or form from like cool future science, and we thought like be able to have robot arms and stuff. Like, we're getting older now, and now the reality is just that there is a true possibility we could live healthfully to 100. So can you tell us a little bit about why it's important to give your specimen as soon as you can, because you want to have a youthful interaction with you again? But unless it can be used for, okay, we'll talk about that in a second. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So why does one want to get this done for themselves as soon as possible?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we actually talk about this a lot. Basically, the earlier in your life you store your stem cells, the younger your cells will be. So we are only young today. Tomorrow will be older than today. So the earlier you do it, the better, because obviously as we age, there is the aging process that happens in our cells, and that's no secret. We all know that. Now, the benefit of doing that when you're 30, 40, 50 is that as we continue, the life experience, the living process, our cells will remain frozen in time until we need to access them or not. But normally when we age, even if we don't experience any disease, our organs go through the normal aging process. So what could be done in the future, and that is part of our vision, is to have cell replacement therapy. So for example, if an organ starts not to function so well when you're 80 or 90, or if you went through a disease and part of that organ, that tissue had to be removed, what you can do is you can use your own stem cells to reprogram those cells into the organ in question and then transplant them back into your organ. So when we talk about living to 100 healthy years, it's truly possible, and it's not this science fiction that people think of. And we think we should be living 100 healthy years. We should not be living our last few years of life, being sick, feeling unwell.
It's crazy. It's overwhelming to think the possibilities of what you can do with just such a tiny sample of what is given. How many, I guess maybe use is the wrong word, but how often can one, come to DELPHISTEM and say, oh my God, like they've found cancer, or, oh my goodness, like my ACL is finally given out. I'm 85, but I still am active and I like to go hiking. Like, how many times can what they gave you kind of keep helping them as time goes along?
I lost you again, but I think I got the question. How many times they can access their sample? Was that the question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
yes.
the longevity of what they're giving you, like how many times can it be used? Or I'm not sure how to phrase that.
That's a very good question, and I think it's fair for us non-scientists to kind of ask these questions. But that's another beauty with the technology we're using. And I have so much fun when I go in the lab and I talk to the scientists. This is my favorite part of the day, because when I look through the microscope, the amount of cells that this process generates is really, to me, it seems like virtually unlimited. It's a large number of cells that, and that's the beauty of it, that you can only take a small sample out of the existing sample, the stored sample, and do the scientific process to reprogram them towards an organ, and the rest can be frozen in time. So the beauty of that is that it doesn't limit you to the number of uses, the number of processes that you can do, and that's why we love this technology.
Wow. So not only longevity, but almost sustainability of the source that you're providing itself, because you wouldn't, God forbid, you have a very not unhealthy life, but a life riddled with a lot of medical issues. It's cool to see that it will, hopefully last throughout all the things that you need it for, even those catastrophic situations. So that is, how does this feel? I have to know, how does this feel as someone who, your mother had cancer. I'm so thankful that she is healthy and well, and I'm sure she's very happy. She's a grandmother right now, so claps for your mom being healthy and a grandmom.
Yeah,
what does it feel
amazing.
like to provide this service not only for everyone, but for your daughter, like with cord blood? And then I would love you to talk about cord blood next.
Oh yeah, for sure, with pleasure. Yeah, thank you for addressing that, because I think, and I think you also, that's a theme in some of your episodes. I think kind of finding your purpose in your career is a journey for all of us. And the way this makes me feel is it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding that I'm able to use my skill set and contribute to something bigger with a purpose and leave a true legacy behind, because we are talking about legacy. When my daughter, when I became a mother, you very rightly made the reference, because when I became a mother, I think I reconsidered so many things in my life. I reflected on so many things, and one of those reflections is what I want my daughter to think or see when she grows up. And if she sees it as something that her parents did to contribute to the greater good, I will be happy. That's pretty much all that would matter to me. And yeah, I think rewarding is actually a word that summarizes it very well, because instead of being in the, on the side and just talking about things, I can contribute and I can do things that are very natural to me, like operations, marketing, strategy, and do it towards something that can make a difference in people's lives. And that feels great.
So beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's, as someone who had a parent with cancer, like you always say, like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to make this never happen again for anyone. And it's rare that people actually are able to follow through with that. And it feels very, I'm definitely one that believes in serendipity and like all things coming together. But for both you and your husband, who is your co-founder and partner, to have both experienced intimately the deep fear of a parent having cancer, and then going through a whole life of making careers and setting yourselves up for all the talents and skills you needed to get to this very moment, to then create this thing that will not only like live on in their honor, but is truly helping other people having the fate of what my father had, or what it was your husband's father.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yes.
And to it just seems like this was very much your trip around the sun's purpose here for both of you. And it is a company that absolutely looks as though it was founded in love and purpose. And, what two beautiful things to pair with science and the limitless, future of technology that we don't even know what to do with yet. But I think it's just so telling that you've both created a future that has legs for eons with all the technology behind it, but because it was based with the purpose of helping people to live healthier, fuller lives, and hopefully, knock on wood, avoid the fates of a shortened life from something just evil and nasty like cancer.
You got that right. I think everything you just said really resonated with me and my co-founder as well, my husband. I think, he always says that we should not be discovering today people with stage 3, stage 4 cancer. Like, this should be a thing of the past, and I couldn't agree with him more. And unfortunately, as I was saying earlier, we talked to a lot of people, and you would be surprised to hear how many people have had first-hand experience with a family member, direct family member, of a similar experience. In our case, I think the bigger shock was that, and I think for many people, but my mom was like the definition of healthy lifestyle before it was a trend. Like, she was doing organic before organic was a trend. She never drank, never smoked, lived a very healthy life, and the illness found her. And what frustrated me at the time the most, in addition with having to understand really complicated terminologies and processes and chemo and all of that stuff that it's just so overwhelming, was the fact that they didn't have any indication of what might work. So they were trying things in real time. They were trying things in real time. And as I was saying earlier, we are all our own guinea pigs. And it was awful to see that. And at the end, the word that they said, which was well-intentioned, but it really stuck with me, was like, oh, she was lucky. Leukemia is a tough one. Like, not a lot of people make it out. And I was like, why do we rely on luck? Like, why is luck still a factor in health decisions today, or health-related experiences, where we have so much information about everything in our life, from weather forecasts, like how many stops the Amazon driver has before they come to your place. Like, you even have level of detail that is not necessary, but it's nice to have, thanks to technology. But our bodies and our health is what we know the least about, and we discover by luck. And I just refuse to let luck be a factor in the way that we approach our health, and we want to help other people. We want to empower other people to take advantage of the technology, not rely only on luck with their health.
My goodness, I wonder. I know that it would take a very special individual with a very detailed career path to be able to handle what I would imagine was the workload over the last few years that it has taken behind the scenes to get this business not only off the ground, but to the place where you are now, where you are accepting registrations. I would love for you to just flaunt your flag of your career path, because, ma'am, it's impressive, okay? So please walk us through. Just, you lived in Greece until 15, moved to the States, you ended up going to undergrad here, and then let's just start after undergrad, because things take off quickly, guys, and you're going to need to pay attention here, because Danae has been a busy woman, okay? So tell us all about your illustrious career that is so cool and impressive.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Yeah, before I go through that, do you remember that speech, the Steve Jobs speech at it was a commencement speech at a university, and I think he said something along the lines of like, everything makes sense once you look back and you connect all the dots, and then you realize why everything had to happen to be where you are today. That's exactly how I look at my life when I look back and when I reflect on my career and all the nice things you said. But I feel like it was a combination of coincidence and destiny of how everything fell into place. So so I finished university here in Michigan, and then I went to back to Europe in London. I did my first master's, and then I stayed in London for almost 4 years, and I worked in different media advertising agencies. You're familiar with the industry, and it was almost by coincidence that because probably I was an international person, I was put on an international account, so I was talking to a lot of people from different offices around the world. And then through that connection, the office of one of the agencies I was talking to in Dubai, they said, we're looking with somebody with your background that understands both sides of the spectrum, and if you'd like to relocate to Dubai, there's an offer for you. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So I ended up relocating to Dubai in the UAE for almost 10 years. I worked there in different in-house corporate roles in luxury consumer organizations that you probably looked that up because it sounds like you saw my profile. And at the same time, I pursued my MBA with the London Business School and a program here at Columbia Business School and an assignment in Argentina. So all of that gave me this kind of like worldview from a business perspective, and I caught the entrepreneurial bug, like I jokingly say. And a professional opportunity brought me to Germany in 2018. And from there, that's where I met my co-founder and husband, and his, biomedical vision about the world really resonated with me for the reasons we just discussed. In the beginning, you meet somebody and you're like, what do you do? What's your background? And it's kind of like curiosity to know what they do. But then once I started understanding what is stem cell technology and the potential, and the power and the impact it can have, I kept poking more. And I'm like, okay, but how can we do this? How can we bring it to the market? How can this happen? My marketing brain went on. And he was like, actually, as a matter of fact, that's my dream. I want to make this technology available. I lost my father to cancer. He was a medical doctor. These are the things that you don't expect to happen. So it was this light bulb moment that went on in Germany, and we kept talking about it. It was kind of like this ongoing conversation, like, how do we make this happen? How do you make this happen? And for me, it was more like, I'll do the behind the scenes work, you do this, I'll do something else. And I was looking at other entrepreneurial opportunities, but I was like obsessed. I was like ideating, putting together like different landscape plans, different Venn diagrams, all that. And then eventually he said, I need someone with your background. I need somebody who sees things the way you see. Why don't we do this together, And I was like, yeah, why? After that conversation, it was almost like this very clear idea, like, yeah, let's do this. So we combined our skill set, and we've been building this company for a bit over 2 years, and we just soft launched a couple months ago.
It's so fascinating, and I am just knowing the level of organization, systems, detailing, programming, meetings, accountability that you had to get used to within those years of working in luxury corporate at the highest levels of interaction with the wealthiest of wealthy consumers and making sure that like they're getting what they want. I wonder if you have thought about the absolute like grade A luxury experience that you're bringing to the masses in the form of personalized medical care. Because in essence, you took the process of personal shopping in some regard for your health, made it as simple as possible, and then now give them almost the ease and comfort of, oh, okay, well, I've done a lot for myself in this one little sample that I've sent out here, and now I feel great. It has to be something you've thought about? Because you've literally flipped the medical industry and the way in which you interact with someone on its head. You're not trivializing it. You're just bringing such an ease to it that it feels luxurious. Do you agree?
Yeah, and you see me nodding and smiling because you did such a beautiful job illustrating the complexity of like the thought process behind creating this experience. But I think you got it. I mean, this is incredible. You got it so right that I think from what you just said, it's so accurate. But the thing that stood out the most from my personal experience, and it also resonated with Noelle, is that we are literally people first from every angle you look at it. We are very customer centric, but even internally with the people that we collaborate with, we are people first. Like, we are not like those other biotechs. No, I have no, that was more of a joke. But we really lead and build the company with real people in mind, like with, people like your father, my mother, like people that we know. And the aspect of the working with luxury companies and, those having that experience, and you've talked to a few people in your podcast with people that worked in that industry, I feel like it's a business school in itself because it's incredible. The processes that they have in place, the level of detail and the perfectionism that is involved in luxury companies is admirable. And that's why it's unattainable in a way too, right? Because like you can never be too perfect and too polished. So what I've taken out of that experience is being very customer centric, making the experience for the end consumer super easy, non-invasive, super accessible, and creating that feeling. Like a lot of the things that we do today, we may do them absent-mindedly, but think about the times that you go and buy, I don't know what it might be for you, like your favorite smoothie or something that when you have that experience, you just have that peace of mind, or you feel so good, you're like, ooh, I treated myself. We wanted to translate that peace of mind, and I don't know, these are our values, but this is part of our values. We also have like a board where we have what are the things that we want our clients to feel, and the one on the top is peace of mind, because we think that it's very important to create that experience for people. So yeah, that connection with my experience in the luxury corporate world and what I brought to DELPHISTEM is being customer centric, being about the experience, and conveying that feeling that in our case is peace of mind, and through all the steps of the way of someone joining DELPHISTEM.
Definitely, it's going to take a few years of everyone realizing that the tides are turning and you can start to access some of the things that only the wealthy or those in Europe could access before. But now I almost wonder if there's a part of you that wants to make it even easier for people to get access to. I was so, like, a light bulb went off when you stated that you've been working with other businesses so that they can provide their employees with the membership as a corporate benefit for them being an employee. And I was like, oh boy. One, so smart. Two, it's still tapping into that healthcare component that a lot of corporate businesses or companies that are providing benefits would find it very exciting and interesting to add to what is already probably a big package. But yeah, what are some of the ways in which you've been trying to connect what you offer in different avenues just to get more people aware that it's even something they can do?
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. This has been a very interesting conversation because we've been talking to a lot of organizations and business owners, both of small businesses and larger businesses. And one of the things that have happened, I would say mostly since COVID, is that businesses have budgets allocated for different things, right? So there is the health insurance, there is the different things, training, whatever every organization might have. And then innovative, forward-thinking companies started introducing what they call a wellness budget. And it's a little bit of a vague term, but a lot of things can fall under that. And a lot of good things have happened from, companies having a wellness budget for their employees. I think last time I looked at the numbers, on average, it was $800. Some companies have $2,000 per employee per year. Most of them are in the tech industry, as you would expect. But it's very encouraging and very, very inspiring. And in the conversations we're having with different organizations, one thing came up that I found it quite interesting. They kind of struggle to give a menu of options. They're like, okay, we gave yoga options and Pilates, and if people want to do things for their mental health, of course we support it. We offer things on campus, but then we kind of don't know what else to offer, like acupuncture. A few things came up in conversations, and they're all great things, by the way. But the underlying theme in most of those conversations was that, would that make a difference? Would that move the needle? Like, what can we offer that is a little bit more meaningful, that is not relating to their health insurance per se, because we got that covered, but is contributing to their health and well-being? And that was the light bulb, as you just said. It kind of went like that because our price point is accessible on purpose, and it does create that meaningful relationship between the employer and the employee. So when employees have access to, storing their own stem cells for future preventive and personalized healthcare options, that is something that might happen after they have left their employer. But their employer gave them that opportunity. So it has that kind of like very meaningful bonding moment almost between employees and employers about, hey, I care about you. I care about your well-being. Here's what I offer you if you want to take advantage of it. And we've also seen that with companies that offer, like fertility treatments, egg freezing treatments. Like these kind of things would not have been the norm years ago, but now it's part of our conversations. And yeah, having the price point being more accessible opens more doors for a bigger variety of organizations. It doesn't have to be only the tech forward-thinking kind of companies. It can be, we've had conversations with consulting companies, with retail consumer goods, so it's not the usual suspects. It can literally be any organization that cares about their employees and want to offer something meaningful. And also, it can be in cases where employees can do things for their well-being and their company would reimburse them. We've also seen that quite a bit, and that gives that flexibility for people to choose what they want to do with their wellness budget.
It's so cool. It's honestly, it's really giving a fair amount of hope for the future. I think it's important, certainly, corporations want their employees to be healthy. They need them to be healthy to do a good job, and they need them to be happy. And I, for one, would be super jazzed if this got offered to me at my company. I'd be like, sure, of course. Why wouldn't I do that? Like, thanks. I don't have to pay for it now, so that's awesome. That's one less thing I have to worry about. But it is just so telling that this is only going to become even easier and easier. All the barriers are starting to break down, I think, in pretty rapid fire succession. So I think it's only another year or two before this is a very commonplace conversation, which is exciting. And I love that you guys are at the forefront of this. And I did have a question. I think that's I'm definitely not a scientist, so I would imagine that the world is your oyster. You could serve billions of people, but what is like the capacity for scientists in your space for what they're doing? I would imagine, like, if 3 million people sign up tomorrow, I'm just so curious, like, how does it all work? How do the scientists get in there and do this, the life-saving stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and it's valid. I think we have everything in place that we would be able to take on a large amount of people. For 3 million people, we would probably need to, bring on a few more scientists on board. But luckily, the lab is fully equipped. We have all the equipment that we need. The samples to be stored and cryostored, it doesn't take that much space. Like each vial is like tiny tube. So that gives us the flexibility to have that wide range of people that we can process and welcome on board. It will be more a matter of the number of team members that we have in the scientific team, and that's where the core of our work and our offer is. But there's a lot of talented people out there. We have a pipeline of people who are excited to join us once we're ready. So that will be a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to have it, because it's not going to take long before everyone knows who you are and what you're doing. And I'm just so thankful that I got to have this conversation with you so early on and have been able to watch along. I do remember shedding a tear when your partner reached into that empty lab area and was like, look, this is where I'm going to do stuff later. It was just, it was such a beautiful moment because you could see how much this means to you guys. And, you know, you're the educated ones that know what this means for all of us. You know, like we're still playing catch up here and seeing how cool this is. And truly, guys, this is like beyond what we could have ever hoped for ourselves to have access to in a way that is actual and real. And, you know, a month from now, you could be receiving help from something if you so needed it. But, like, it's just such a crazy time to be alive. I want to make sure we touch on the advancements that you told me about right before we started. Could you please just give us this one tidbit? Because for people who have someone suffering from cancer alone, I would sell my house and give you every penny I had for you to help my father with what you're about to tell me here. If he were still alive and suffering, I would give every penny I had for what you're about to say.
Thank you, and please don't. That's why we're doing this, to make it accessible. But I'm very excited to share this with you, and I think, you know, the moment and the timing is great because it's the first time we talk about this with anybody, and I'm happy that it's with you. As we were saying earlier, we do have a very bold vision and very long vision. So the focus was for us to do this kind of soft launch we just did and kind of go on soft operations for about a year while we fine-tune things behind the scenes. So we were not expecting things to advance so quickly and so well. And we were not planning on introducing personalized treatment options yet. But hot off the press, our scientific work has advanced so well that we are now in a position to very, very soon launch personalized services for people with pancreatic cancer. So basically, what that means is that we have access to the different chemotherapy drugs that pancreatic cancer patients might have access to. And as we were discussing earlier, the way that it's conventionally approached today, if someone has cancer, the doctor says, empirically speaking, you know, chemo drug number 1, chemo drug number 2, number 3 seems to be working well. Let's get started with that one and see how your body reacts. We want to avoid that. We want to avoid being our own guinea pigs. And our vision is to offer when we talk about personalized services is that if your doctor is considering a number of options for you, before you go ahead and start them, we can test those options in our lab on your own cells and do that, you know, toxicity assessment, efficacy assessment, and tell your doctor, you know what, for this particular person, drug number 2 might have is more likely to work and have a better results. This is the data. You do what you want with it. So the doctor interprets the data, and they can go ahead and get started with the one that seems to have higher likelihood of being effective. So this was our vision to do for a number of diseases that we have in our pipeline. And now we just finished yesterday, literally, all the scientific work that was required to be able to offer that personalized service for pancreatic cancer patients. And this is a big milestone for us. This is the rewarding moment I was talking about earlier. And we cannot wait to fine-tune everything behind the scenes and really make it available for people who might need it.
Woo! God bless both of you and your team and all the work that has gone into that. It's shocking to hear that we're there. And it's, you know, if you've ever seen someone go through chemotherapy only to learn that it was really affecting them because they might be allergic to it or it just isn't working well for what they specifically need. The thought of those 6 months of trial and error, beating down your body, losing weight, throwing up all day long, you can't open your eyes because your head hurts so badly, like true worldly suffering happens in chemotherapy. And
it's awful. It's really awful what we do to our bodies. And you know, a lot of people don't make it because of the side effects of chemo. This is something I did not know. And that is just heartbreaking.
It's so, you guys are angels on this earth. I could sing your praises all day long. I'm so thankful you exist. I'm so happy you're here and that we're in this time frame of life. It's wild that we're making these advances left and right, and it really brings peace to my soul to know that there are good, moral people out there within the scientific medical community that are pushing for the advancement and betterment of care for everyone. And that is something that should not be overlooked. And I will shout you from the rooftops for the rest of my life. It's beautiful work, and I hope you're proud. I hope you're proud of everything you guys have done so far.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. And we are. Thank you.
Oh, good. My final question, Danae, to all of my guests is this. Danae, how do you make your life rich?
That's a good question, and multi-angle. But I often reflect on this, and I think I reflect on this when I hear your podcast episodes. How do we make our life rich? It's not one thing. It's not a quick fix, and I don't think it's one thing that we can do that works. I think it's all these different buckets of things that we do in our life. So at the moment, and I think as we all grow older and wiser, I don't want to say older, wiser and more experienced with life, we really narrow down to the things that really matter to us the most. So how do I make my life rich? I try to be as present as I can. I try to live in the moment. I take great pride and joy from contributing to other people's lives and communities, not only through the work. Obviously, DELPHISTEM was created with that goal in mind, but in my everyday interactions, if I can do something to contribute to somebody's day being better, that will make me happy. And, speaking of getting wiser with time, is being selective. I think both the entrepreneurial journey and being a new mom makes you very intentional with how you spend your time, your resources, saying no to things, prioritizing. These are the things that I think help me make my life richer.
Beautiful. It's hope, but we don't need to hope, guys, because this possibility is based in science, and it's real, and it's here.
Exactly. Thank you for having me. This was such a refreshing conversation, and I'm so glad we finally made it after so long.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm just so happy that you guys are in business and you're out there, and doors are open, guys. Go to the show notes. There'll be a link in the show notes. There is still early bird pricing from the soft launch. Get in there. Don't mess around. Absolutely do it. Do it for yourself. Start with your children. If there are a whole bunch of you, do one a month and then get all of you up in there. This is something that you cannot afford to not have. You can pay for your health in the front or the back end, guys, and it's cheaper on the front end. So get clicking on the show notes. Do yourself a favor from now, even if it's just so that you can have a youthful Jane Fonda glow when you're 89, like God willing, you have a very healthy, long life. But do it. It's here. It's available. Do not snub the nose of technology, because people 10 years ago even would have given literally their life for access to this medical advancement. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much, Danae. This was perfect. You've made my day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.